Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go.
Election Day. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day for Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. It's Election Day. Days that seem so far in the future just come upon us. It's hard to imagine we're getting toward the end of 2024 already. Seems just yesterday that we had a presidential election 4 years ago. Hard to believe. Time just passes. Went out this morning. Polling station opened at 6 a.m. I was there at 6 a.m. A bunch of people already waiting online, about 20 volunteers, and there were media trucks because the district where one of the candidates lives is where I vote. So he was coming to vote, I assume, at some point this morning. And I went through and voted and got the sticker and was thinking to myself how thankful I am to be able to vote, anxious about what will happen today, as we all are, what will happen tomorrow, the day after, the week after, the year after, and the decade after. Normal anxiety that people have had through the years. Of course, recency bias tells you that everyone's more anxious and more concerned today than they were yesterday. But it got me doing some research about previous presidential elections, and I came across something interesting in the passage of time. We're in the year 2024. 200 years ago, in 1824, there was a fascinating election that took place between John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson. And back then, presidential elections were different. There wasn't even a Republican Party and a Democratic Party. It wasn't a party system. Back then, if you were the Secretary of State, that was your key to being the president. That was the step below president. You go from Secretary of State to president. The first election, you didn't even have to do anything to be the vice president. You just had to lose in the presidential election. That was the ticket. That's who won. That's how Washington got his VP. So 200 years ago was the beginning of something that has lasted 200 years. Because I was reading the paper this morning. Yes, I still get an actual paper. And I was thinking about all the negativity that has gone on and thinking about all the ads playing during Monday Night Football and all of, and I support this message. And I even do stuff like that on Nothing Personal. It just shocks me sometimes. So I went back and thought about John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson. I want to confirm what I knew. And so I read up on it and I remembered it right. The beginning of mudslinging, the beginning of all of this anger between candidates and all of the rancor, that really started in 1828 because 1824 was a weird election. It was weird because no one got the vote. No one got the votes needed, the electorates needed to become president. So it went to the House. That's the rule. Except there was this corrupt bargain that happened. There was a loser. The fourth place finisher in the presidential election was a guy named Henry Clay. And he said to John Quincy Adams, I got a plan, because he was also the Speaker of the House. I'm going to take care of this election for you. You're going to win. I'll get you to win over Andrew Jackson, but you got to name me Secretary of State. 200 years ago, these sort of deals were happening that shock us today. John Quincy Adams said, no problem, deal. That's the corrupt bargain. John Quincy Adams is named president, and short time later, there he is, Henry Clay, Secretary of State. What Henry Clay didn't realize is 4 years later that the Secretary of State would not become president because Andrew Jackson was so angry over how it all went down. He ran again, and it became a brutal election in 1828. Brutal, between John Quincy Adams going for re-election and Andrew Jackson trying to beat him again. And mudslinging was the word of the day back during that election. So much so that Andrew Jackson's wife dropped dead right after the election before he could ever take office. And Andrew Jackson blamed her death on the personal attacks that were levied upon Andrew Jackson and his wife by John Quincy Adams. You see, Andrew Jackson and his wife were maybe didn't have the backstory that some people would like in terms of how their love began, not on a playground in elementary school. And John Quincy Adams trying to take advantage of that. So when we think that what we go through now is so crazy, it's all the negativity that it makes us angry, it makes our blood boil. We think about what's happened to our world 200 years ago. There was things going on just like this. The difference, of course, is social media, the ability to spread misinformation so much faster, easier, the ability for anyone to turn a street corner into 1 million followers, yelling into the abyss, which sometimes we laugh about, we do on Nothing Personal, and then we run into people who listen to our show every day and realize that it's not an abyss, it just looks and feels like an abyss. Whereas 200 years ago, if you're alone on a corner, it actually is an abyss. So as you go through today, this is not virtue signaling by wearing my sticker. Sorry, Dan, it's not. This is me simply asking as a favor to me what we do together every day for 50 minutes, and we will do it and keep doing it. And you guys give me so much, and Coca, Sarah, and I work our tuchuses off to return the favor and value your time and loyalty. I ask you all to vote, and we don't tell you which way to vote, just vote. And then we ask you, no matter what happens, to respect and understand the process. That's all. I was at a conversation, Coca, yesterday at a farm stand, funny enough. And I don't generally talk to strangers unless they talk to me first. But there was a disconnect that we had over a cucumber. And I was trying to get a cucumber for a salad. And to make a long story short, we started talking about the election and obviously because it was the next day and it's in everyone's mind. And it was surprising to me that this person was trying to convince me that no matter what happens, our world is in a worse place today than it was yesterday. And that sort of feeling, it's been gnawing at me ever since. And I don't want you all to have that. I want everyone to be able to move forward together, understanding that you may not agree with the party who wins at all, but this is our country, and that has to take priority. And if we're not happy with what happens now, then we change it at the midterms, then we change it next election. But any other way of doing it takes away the entire process of having done it. So I am not as scared as other people are. I'm not as worried as other people are because maybe I'm just naive or maybe I just have a belief. But the excitement of an election, knowing what people went through 200 years ago, knowing what people went through 100 years ago. Elections, by the way, it wasn't even election day back in 1824 and 1828. It was election period. I think it went from like October 25th to December 2nd, something like that was how a president got elected. Obviously, there weren't the type of ballots that we have today. And it's just an amazing evolution that I hope we all take the time to appreciate. Even when you think that you've seen it all in sports or in culture or in politics or in movies, something happens that you say to yourself, my God, there's no way that that happened, did it? And one of you is calling it out, and thank you for doing it. Coca?
You know what I want? I want to talk to Samson.
So you want to talk to Samson. Thank you. Get into Twitter, X at David P. Samson. We have a website, davidsamsonpodcast.com. Ask me questions, and they may make the show, especially this one. Okay, David, please explain what just happened with Gerrit Cole. Did he opt out or not? Oh, hello. Love the show. You hit every bucket in terms of getting requested on the show there. Grammatically correct, an interesting question. You missed a hyphen, but let's not quibble over any bits. Let's talk about Gerrit Cole. We did an entire segment yesterday. Gerrit Cole opted out of his contract, and the Yankees had until 5 p.m. last night to add another year at $36 million as per the terms of the original $324 million contract signed years ago. This was a right that Scott Boras and Gerrit Cole had bargained for. The right to opt out after 2024 and the right of the Yankees to take away that opt-out in return for adding a year at $36 million. Gerrit Cole said, I opt out. I've told you on this show, players opt out when they know that they've got a better deal somewhere else. He opted out of 5 years, 4 years, 144, 5 years, 180. If the Yankees had accepted, clearly Scott Boras had a deal for Gerrit Cole somewhere. Or he had an agreement with the Yankees when A-Rod pretended to do the opt-out and then re-sign with the Yankees. Clearly, there's been discussion. It can't be that Boras would have Cole nakedly opt out of the deal. Maybe Boras said to Cole, listen, let's do it. The Yankees will blink. Everybody blinks toward me, Gerrit. You know I'm Scott Boras. I am the blink whisperer. Except life's changed, Scotty boy. Owners aren't scared of you anymore. They don't believe all of the mudslinging and crap that you lay at their feet. They finally realize that you are selling a bill of goods that is neither a bill nor good. All it is extra money in your pocket. The Yankees looked at Gerrit Cole and said, hi, my name's Hal Steinbrenner. You will not be getting your 5th year at $36 million. Scott Boras and Gerrit Cole said, what do you mean? That can't be true. You've got till Monday at 5. Come on, let's do this. And the Yankees said, no. So if you want to opt out, you are a free agent, and we will happy to negotiate a deal with you, but it ain't going to be $144 million or $180 million. But up to you. No way, Scott Boras thought. No team has ever stood up to me like that and meant it. Gerrit, just hang in there. The Yankees are going to cave. Everybody caves. 450. Don't worry, we got 10 minutes. It's all going to work out. Everyone just stay calm. Well, Scott, what do we do here? I mean, what do you have for me on the free agent market? Don't worry about it, Gerrit. We've got an amazing deal for you. Well, have you spoken to anybody? That's irrelevant. Look at you. You're Gerrit Cole. 458. Brian, it's Scott. You know, normally I won't talk to you. I only talk to Hal, but we have about 120 seconds here. Are you really not going to, you're going to let my guy walk away? You're going to let both of my guys walk away? What do you mean, Scott? Are you telling me that if we don't give Gerrit the 5th year, you're not going to let Soto sign here? Is that what you're saying, Scott? Let me make sure. Say it into the microphone. Say it into the lapel, please, that if we don't take care of one client, you're not going to let us take care of another? Oh, no. 459.20. I can't say that. No, you can't, Scott. That would be the end of you as an agent. In which case, would you like to say it? Hold on. Speak into the right ear. 459.40. Brian, what are you going to do? I'm going to do nothing. 5 o'clock. What do you got? We didn't opt out. Just kidding. What? Can you believe that's what actually happened? Cole and Boras got absolutely schooled by the Yankees. And I am loath to ever compliment the Yankees. And this is not an anti-player thing or a pro-Yankees thing. This is when you have learned behavior, I don't blame you for thinking that every situation that comes after will have the same result as to what came before until you go to Wall Street and it is ingrained in your head and tattooed on your calf that past results are not indicative of future performance. Why would Scott Boras ever believe that when past results have always been indicative of future behavior by baseball people? Brian Cashman said, quote, maybe the grass isn't always greener. I think he's happy where he's at. I think he likes our setup. I know he likes playing for who he's playing for and working for, and I think he likes his teammates and thinks we have a legitimate chance to win. That's so great. So now Cole walks in with his tail between his legs. Boras won't take his call anymore because he's too busy working on his other free agents right now. That was his moment of attention from Scotty B. I can't wait to watch Gerrit walk into spring training. Hey, way to go, Gerrit. Now, I'm being a little harsh because Brian Cashman said they're not negotiating extension right now. I have a wait to see from yesterday, which I'm not giving up yet, Coca, under any scenario. The wait to see is that Cole and the Yankees will stay together under a new framework of a deal. I still believe that will happen, just not today. I thought they'd be able to get it done by yesterday at 5 because I thought that Cole would only opt out because they had been dealing with a new deal for longer than 20 minutes. But apparently, Boras was taking his power out for a walk, and he got squashed in a pile of feces. Am I taking pleasure in that? Listen, we'll see what happens through the rest of this free agency period because he's got a lot of players. But it is certainly an interesting step what happened yesterday with the Yankees. I've never seen it happen before. November 5th, 2024. Do you know that leagues get to choose their trade deadline? It's true. Under the collective bargaining agreement, there's a bunch of different days MLB can choose, like July 30th, July 31st, August 1st, August 2nd. I wonder whether the NFL and Coca, I forgot to ask you this pre-show. We were too busy talking about my choice of shirts and my sticker. Is the trade deadline November 5th every single year? I'm going to bet you that it's not, though I don't know that for sure. I don't know that I love the trade deadline being today. I don't necessarily love that the college football playoff initial rankings will happen today. I think that people who make content are super happy about it, that they have stuff to talk about, so they don't have to talk about politics or the election, even though it's hard to imagine that there's anyone not thinking about that. We could have spread out the love over the course of days. But here we are with the NFL trade deadline happening, and people are looking toward Texas, not for what's going to happen in the election, but what Jerry Jones is going to do today. Is he a buyer or a seller? And in football, it's not as big a deal as it is in baseball. The deadline matters, but not like it does in baseball. It's not that it used to be Tuesday after week 8. Is that us now? Are we Tuesday after? What day is today? Today is Tuesday. Coca's giving me all the information, but they voted in March to now make it the Tuesday after week 9. There you go. Oh, because they extended the season into week 17. Does that mean when a week 18 comes, Coca, the deadline will be moved to the first Tuesday after week 10? I suppose that would make sense. So here we are, the first Tuesday after week 9, trade deadline. Whether or not teams buy or sell is not as relevant as to how the owners view their particular team. And if you are the Cowboys and you have news about Dak, that he is not out just for a week, that he's out multiple weeks with a hamstring, as you know from this show and baseball, hamstrings are a problem. It's not a 2-week problem. It can be a 2-month problem. Depending on the grade of the tear of the hamstring, if you try to come back too quickly, you can't. And this is not a Toradol situation, because if you take pain medication or you numb it, a hamstring is the type of injury that if you play on it and it is frayed, you can make it worse. So you do not come back early from a hamstring issue. So the Cowboys have an issue with Dak Prescott that's going to last weeks. And Mike McCarthy, the coach in waiting to not be coach, had a very interesting take on his team. And it follows Jerry Jones saying, hey, I view us as buyers. I view us as in this. And I don't understand how a 3-win team would view themselves as in it. It is the ultimate in delusion that a GM should never be able to convince his owner of. But of course, when it's the same guy, it makes it easier to have that wall of convincing. But Mike McCarthy, talking about Dak's injury, said, and this is him actually talking, he said, it really doesn't change anything with us. Even speaking with Dak earlier, this is about the quarterback room. We've always invested all the time and energy into the quarterback that has the football. So now it's Cooper's turn. Hold on. I want to make sure that I've digested this properly. And this is not a matter of exhaustion or a Joe versus the volcano brain cloud. Why in the world did you pay Dak Prescott the money you paid him if your whole philosophy is that your success has nothing to do with Dak Prescott and that it's your quarterback room that's the success? So next man up. See you later, Dak. Now we've got Cooper Kupp. It's not Cooper Kupp. Sorry, Cooper Rush. I don't think it's Cooper Rush. What the hell is going on? Coca, stop the show. What is the last name, please, Coca, of the quarterback? It is Rush. Thank you. I'll clean that up right now. Ready? 4869. Next man up, Cooper Rush, has the same likelihood of winning as Dak Prescott, yet you give Dak Prescott that extension? I'm not sure I understand what we're doing. If you build a system that it doesn't matter who's in the system because it's the system that wins, then why would you ever have a cap issue because you gave so much money to Lamb and Prescott? It's inconsistent what Jones and McCarthy are saying. It can't be true. And if it is true that it's the quarterback's room that matters, then it is malpractice what you did to your team by signing Dak Prescott to that contract. Absolute malpractice, though I could argue it was a bad signing to begin with. It just makes no sense. I guess when people have a microphone, sometimes they say poppycock. It's Cooper's turn. We're going to rally around him. Mike, they better rally around you, my friend, because you are not long for this world as the Cowboys coach. Now, you're no Dennis Allen, because Dennis Allen already is fired. Gail Benson decided it was time to bring her meddling outside of the political arena, outside of the priests arena, and right into the football arena. And she said, Mickey Loomis, my GM, I love you so. You've been here for so long. You were a really, really instrumental part of what we did with my husband. But there's a new sheriff in town, and her name is Gail. And she doesn't like a lot of things that other people like. And you know what? We've lost 7 in a row, and I don't care what you say and what you did say, because Mickey Loomis just a week ago said, hey, we've had an avalanche of injuries. We can't blame anyone for the fact that we won our first 2 and then lost 6 in a row. We have an avalanche of injuries. Well, I guess losing 7 in a row is when the avalanche is on the head of the coach. So they called Dennis Allen in. Dennis Allen, who, by the way, was the superstar defensive coordinator under Sean Payton. It was a dream that he would take over as head coach. He's coached for a total of 43 games. 43 games. Now, he did go 18-25. And it can't be Mickey Loomis's fault. God knows it can't be Gail Benson's fault. So a mid-season coaching change trying to turn around the fortunes of a team in football barely works in baseball. Worked for us only one time out of the 30 times we did it. Almost never works in football. It is amazing that you can start a season 2-0 and get fired that same season, but it's happened like 5 times to a coach. And I just keep thinking about the Mickey Loomis situation. It was less than a month ago. The Saints were 2-4. And he said there has been an avalanche of injuries. He was on the radio. He's like, it's not about the head coach. It's not always about the head coach. Lots of different variables. So what changed? Was it not going for 2 at the end of the game? Was it a Todd Bowles situation? We told you to go for 2 and beat the Chiefs, not go for the tie, you ignorant dolt. I love criticizing and playing the results. I love it. I think the Saints are in great shape. I think they promoted their special teams coordinator. It's a good thing. I think that'll really change it. All right, we have so much more to get to. I want to remind everyone before we go to break, please, that coming up later this month, we have a bunch of mailbag episodes. Coca's going on vacation. So when Coca and Sarah are gone, we have some mailbag episodes. And it's possible I'll be gone too for a couple days. But we still do shows. So send questions, any type, any subject. Go to davidsamsonpodcast.com or go on Twitter at David P. Samson or Instagram at David P. Samson. And we have a bunch of mailbag questions, but we need more. So please do me that favor. Let's go, audience. Make me proud. Send questions. And do me a favor. When it's questions that only you care about, that will only be relevant to you, I'm probably not going to put them in the mailbag episode. I'll try to answer. But so, for example, what do I do when I'm renegotiating my contract, which I have to renegotiate 2 weeks from yesterday, and I work at a widget company? I'll be happy to give you advice. I don't think it'll make the episode, but please, let's go, audience. You've got this. DavidSamsonPodcast.com. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to review the movie with Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, which you all hated, and I watched for the first time Sunday. And then we're going to talk about what big day it was in baseball for players not named Gerrit Cole. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Nothing Personal with David Samson. You are live on our YouTube channel. Please hit subscribe, join the chat, have some fun. Anyone who gets our word of the day gets some merch. I don't know if anyone guessed Election Day. I would think we're going to be sending out free merch to somebody. That was a pretty obvious word of the day today. If it's 10:26 Eastern time, you're watching me on DraftKings Network. Thank you. DraftKings Network leading right into the Le Batard show at 11 a.m. We're with you every day. I finally watched Joker Folie à Deux. It was available for stream, and I streamed it. Sadly, I went in with a preconceived notion that it was terrible because everyone hated it. It did terribly, a commercial failure. It came in a dream to Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix. They put together the movie. They each got paid $20 million, $12 million to Lady Gaga. Everyone's losing their shirt. Joaquin Phoenix is separating himself from it. It's just one of the like Waterworld type stuff. So I turn on the movie and I was told there was a musical, which I didn't quite understand. And then all of a sudden, Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga start singing and I dig it. I thought it was fantastic. People said there's no story. There's a story. It's about Fleck, the guy, Joker, the character, a woman, Lady Gaga, who may be crazy, may not be crazy, who may be in love with the Joker, may not be, who may not want him to be the normal Fleck and just the Joker. They may end up together, they may not. Meanwhile, there's an incredible amount of violence and an incredible amount of singing. Not the best dancing, but not terrible. I love A Star is Born with Lady Gaga. Who doesn't love Lady Gaga? I think she was just at the Chiefs game last night with Travis Kelce. She gets a ton of attention. I loved it. And I felt terribly. I kept waiting not to like the Joker movie because it's like I was told not to, which then informed me of my favorite view that I have of myself and that I want you to have of yourself. You don't need to do crowd think. It is okay to have different views than other people, or to think differently than other people, or to disagree with other people, to have an open mind about something instead of being convinced before you even experience it. Oh, that's a crappy movie. I won't see it. Oh, that stadium stinks. That team stinks. I mean, in sports, you have a record at least to go by, but even that shouldn't be enough to change your own opinion or the opportunity to form your own opinion. Just because Joker 2 failed at the box office doesn't mean you shouldn't see it. I absolutely enjoyed it. Isn't the criteria for you, because it is for me, if you can spend about 136 minutes of your day where you're locked in and entertained, I think you like the 50 minutes with me. At least the numbers say you do. I have great respect for the people who did the Joker. I liked it. Yesterday was qualifying offer day. What a great day for players. When you're a free agent and your team can say, hey, we're giving you a qualifying offer, but we've been taught that qualifying offers have a quashing impact on your free agent value because the league negotiated against the union and said, listen, if a player has a qualifying offer attached to him, then if any other team signs your player, they lose a draft pick. And so the agents all say, well, that means their value goes down. Yet we go into every CBA negotiation saying, hey, you want to get rid of qualifying offers? No problem. Give us an international draft. Oh, no, can't do that. Well, all right, then qualifying offer stays. 13 players got qualifying offers. Do you know what that means? That means your phone rings, your agent calls you, and they say, hey, Max, take Max Fried of Atlanta. Max, the Braves are going to give you a qualifying offer. That means you're guaranteed $21.05 million next year. You could have the worst season ever. You could fall into a ditch. You could sprain your ankle. You could do whatever you do. But all you got to do is have a heartbeat, and you get $21.05 million for a year. Not too shabby. That is the amount of the qualifying offer, and 13 players got it. You know how when you audition for something, you wait by the phone or you refresh your email when you want to hear something? This is my imitation of Gleyber Torres all day yesterday. Refresh, refresh, refresh. Wait a minute. Are the Yankees not giving me a qualifying offer? Hold on, refresh. What? Wait a minute. It's 5 o'clock. I haven't heard a thing. Hello? Gleyber Torres. Sorry. You're not worth 1 year, $20 million, because the thought was 1 year, $21 million. The thought was that you'd take it, and the Yankees don't want you to. Gleyber Torres did not get a qualifying offer. Surprisingly, neither did Walker Buehler. Surprising only to those who watch the World Series and don't pay attention to anything else. Walker Buehler was a solid number 7 starter this entire season. He picked a great time to pitch well during the postseason, but you don't fool Andrew Friedman. You don't fool real baseball people with good performances in the postseason or even by closing game 5. Walker Buehler did not get a qualifying offer because Walker Buehler is not worth $21 million. The old Walker Buehler, don't get me wrong, he's Gerrit Cole-like. The twice Tommy John Walker Buehler with the mid-5s ERA Walker Buehler, no qualifying offer for you. So now Walker Buehler and Gleyber Torres go out into the world and they negotiate as regular free agents. There's no compensation attached to them, and they will be able to find out their market. It doesn't mean the Yankees and Dodgers respectively will not sign their players back. It just means there was no way they were going to guarantee to sign them at a 21.05 AAV. Then there are players that you give a qualifying offer to where you know that you're not retaining the player, but you want to get the draft pick, and you know the player will not accept it, like Willy Adames. The Milwaukee Brewers, there is not one scenario the Brewers re-sign Willy Adames. It doesn't exist. But they gave him a qualifying offer yesterday because someone will sign him to a long-term deal. And if you sign a player with a qualified offer to a long-term deal, you have to give the old team a draft pick. The theory was to incentivize or want players to stay with their teams. This was a whole small market versus big market situation, by the way. How can we make it harder for big markets to take away all the players from the small markets? It's really worked, hasn't it? There's been no flow of free agents to large payroll teams. It's been brilliant. Of course, we pretend it's brilliant to the union because we don't want to give it up. That's a dollar fine because they don't want to give it up, because you can't give up anything in bargaining. Even if it's something you don't want to have, you don't give it up because you want to get something back in return. So there's 13 players that have about 14 days to decide. Here's how the Juan Soto decision goes. Am I going to take a 1-year deal from the Yankees at $21 million? Hold on. Okay. No. I assume Juan Soto has already declined the qualified offer. I assume the minute that he got it, he declined it. There's no reason to stand on ceremony. Corbin Burns, Baltimore, will decline it. As a matter of fact, everyone who got the qualified offer is likely going to deny it, except I was a little surprised to see Nick Pivetta on the list. Yeah, he's good. I just don't know that his market is out there for more than $21 million. He would be a candidate for me to accept the qualifying offer from Boston. I am a little worried about Sean Manaea and Luis Severino with the Mets. Severino had a great season. There's no question. Manaea turned it around as well. But these guys don't have the greatest track record in recent years, they were turnaround years for the Mets. And the question is, will someone be willing to give them multiple years when everybody needs pitching, but starting pitching is not quite the focus that MLB wants it to be? That's a lot of money to spend on the hope that you will get good Minaya and good Severino over a period of a long-term deal. Frankly, I'd rather have Michael Wacha at $51 million than Minaya or Severino at 21. So it's going to be interesting. But I think at the end of the day, Pivetta is likely the only one to accept, along with Nick Martinez of the Cincinnati Reds. When you've got 20 in your hand and you go out to the free agent world, when you get the qualifying offer, what happens is your agent is supposed to take these 14 days. That was the reason that you go from the 5th to the 19th, is that the agent is supposed to go out over these 14 days and get you a deal and guarantee you more guaranteed money than the $21.05 million. And if you can't do it and you're a fringe qualified offer guy, then you accept the offer. It doesn't mean that Soto and Burns and Pete Alonso and Max Fried and Bregman, those guys need to know what they're doing by the 19th because they know they're getting a multiple year deal from somewhere. But when you are even Teoscar Hernandez, the theory is he's going to get a multi-year deal. The Dodgers gave him a qualifying offer, but he thought he'd get a multi-year deal last year. And he ended up doing the 1 year, $23 million deal with the Dodgers. So he'll decline this, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee what he's going to get on a guaranteed basis. It's going to be interesting. I think I'll give you an official wait to see here, Coca, which we do every year by the 19th. I think that Pivetta and Martinez will be the only people to accept the qualifying offer. Many people are saying nobody will. Wait to see. Nothing personal pick of the day. Anyone else know that Patrick Mahomes is 22-28 when he's favored by a touchdown or more in his career? I think you guys all had that stat. We had the Bucks +9. I felt against the spread is what I meant. Sorry, Coca. Thank you. 22-28 against the spread when he's favored by 7 or more points. I feel really good last night having the Bucks +9. Obviously, as the Bucks are going to score, doesn't matter if they go for 2, go for 1, because the most they're going to lose by is 6, which means it's a guaranteed Bucks cover. Done. Start worrying about something else. There's a lot of controversy about that game. Should Bulls have gone for it? Go for the win instead of the tie? Watch Mahomes walk him off the way he walks off so many teams to a win, but not a cover, remaining the only undefeated team. If you've got a chance to beat the only undefeated team, you beat them. You go for it. Go for the win. Is that what everyone would do? Is that what everyone thinks? Or are you playing the result right now? I think it's tough. Both said the field was slick. Give me a break. That's the type of decision that is discussed before a game starts. I want to be very clear. Todd Bowles doesn't look at the game, look at the situation, look at the field, and say, hey, we just scored. We're down 1. It's the end of the game. I don't know what to do. Should we tie it? What do you think, guys? Should we go for 2? Pre-game, when you're doing your game plan, that scenario, which is a really common scenario. Hey, what do we do? 4th and under 5 yards to gain, and we are on our side of the 50, and we're in the last 4 minutes of a quarter. What do? We go through every scenario. Is there an occasional moment in a game where the head coach is like, I don't think we covered that one? It happens for sure. In baseball, it can happen as well. Thank God for telephones to the dugout. But down 7, scoring a touchdown at the end of the 4th quarter, yeah, that one came up. So stop blaming Todd Bowles. It's not just him. But the Bucks did cover. We're 151 and 162. Tonight, nothing personal pick of the day is no pick. Tonight, I'm going to watch the election returns. I have no games that I'm going to watch. There's a bunch of great hockey games to watch. I think the NBA is quiet tonight. I'm not positive, but I'm almost positive there's no NBA games. There's a bunch of NHL games, but there is no pick of the day. We're all going to be watching election returns. And if you tend to watch CNN, watch Fox tonight. If you tend to watch Fox, watch CNN tonight. Go back and forth. Sort of embrace what everybody's thinking, feeling, doing, and saying. Line. Not L-I-N-E. L-Y-I-N-G. How many times have I told you the story of players in the Dominican Republic who lie about their age? What an epidemic it was my entire career. Joking and laughing about players who claim that they're one age when you know they're not. I'm not talking like Danny Almonte type of thing. Man, I hope I pulled that name out right, Coca. When I say that name, does it mean anything to you? Remember the Little Leaguer who was like 26 years old playing in the Little League World Series? That may be too young. Is that too young for you, Coca? Man, sometimes I get a generational brain gap. But the Dominican issue has been going on for decades. Decades. Why do players lie about their age? Why? Because when you are 6 feet and you weigh 180 pounds and you're 14 years old and you're throwing 85, you're worth a lot of money. When you're 6 feet, 180 pounds, throw 85 miles an hour, and you're 22 years old, you're worth a pack of Bubblicious. So there is great incentive for players to lie about their age prior to getting a signing bonus. Well, MLB really wanted to clean it up very, very badly. So what they did is they have a bunch of people who work full-time in the Dominican. They brought in Albert Pujols to be in charge. Yeah, that's funny. And to look out for everybody. And yet we're still having the issue. There is a major international player who is 19 years old, except his documents claim he's 14. And what you do with a 14-year-old is you hide him because you can't sign him till he's 16. The days of hiding that you thought were over. We had a guy hide Vladimir Guerrero with the Expos. Right before I got to Montreal, that's how Vladimir Guerrero got to the Expos. Literally, Fred Ferreira hit him like in a shack with a deal, a pre-done deal. It's hysterical. Now, you'd say it's not great for the kid, but it is. It's not like you're hiding him in chains. You're feeding him. You're pretending to educate him. You're letting him play baseball. You're just doing it when it's dark outside and no one's watching. And then when the player turns 16, you sign him. He's in your system. You got him. That's the wild, wild west. That's why baseball wants an international draft, to stop all the shenanigans, to stop teams with the big wallets or smaller wallets, but shenanigans going on in the Dominican to have an advantage. So what happened in this case? How could you have such a mistake where the Padres agreed to give the 14-year-old $4 million? $4 million in advance. The guy wasn't going to be old enough to be drafted until 27 when he turned 16. And the Padres said, here you go, $4 million. What you don't realize is half the deals that we do before a kid's 16, we back out of because the kid gets fat, ugly, can't play, doesn't project the way we thought. And we say, just kidding. We're happy to have fed you rice and beans and not given you any skills whatsoever. See you later. It happens all the time. Is it right? It's not great. Is it the reality? You bet your bippy. And don't believe the PR of all these teams who come out and say, hey, congratulations, we just gave someone the life skills to be a janitor or to be a teacher. We taught someone English. That's all PR. Go down to see these facilities when you're a part of baseball, and you'll know exactly what I mean. Not when the press comes down and not when you're doing a release, a news release. So the end of the story is that this kid is now 19. He's not worth $4 million. The Padres aren't going to give him $4 million. No one's going to give him $4 million because I don't care how good you are. You're 19. How do we fix this? MLB has been trying for so long. I have a system in place. The international draft. People in Tampa may be worried about getting their lives back together after the hurricane, the nightmare that was Milton. There are so many things to worry about, so many insurance claims to be had, so many people worried about food and water and jobs and a roof over their head. The Tampa Rays have a situation that we've talked about in detail in great length with what they're going to do. A couple of things have happened recently that I needed to update you on that are pretty interesting. The St. Petersburg City Council has approved about $6.5 million in public funding to go to repair Tropicana Field and the issues that happened to it during Hurricane Milton. They claim that they're going to spend money on doing a temporary drainage system, and a drainage system in the bowl and on the field and in the concession stands would be to have a game without a roof. It is amazing that the Tropicana Field has even a chance to be a bona fide Major League Stadium again. It's amazing to me that the St. Petersburg City Council was willing to allocate any amount of money. We don't know for sure what the insurance proceeds are that they're going to get. We do know that there used to be a cap of $100 million, and then somehow something changed recently, and now the most they can get is $25 million on a claim. But we told you that cities and municipalities are loath to put in claims for buildings that inure to the benefit of a private team. We had the same issue in Miami and in the city of Miami and the county of Miami-Dade with Marlins Park after a hurricane. It's a real problem. If you know you're putting public money into a new ballpark, why would you ever put additional public money to repair a ballpark for only a short period of time? Is that because MLB's making you do it? No. Are the Rays making you do it? No. If you ask the Rays right now, would he rather have Stu Sternberg $6.5 million put toward his new ballpark or put into his old ballpark? He would tell you new ballpark, no question, beyond a shadow of a doubt. The irony here is that when you are negotiating stadium deals, which Tampa is still doing, we called that deal done where a new stadium in Tampa was happening. Well, there was a vote that didn't happen where they were supposed to float the bonds in order to raise the money. It's just the way the public gets its money to put into the construction project. Tampa and St. Pete was supposed to get that done, and they delayed it. If bonds are not floated by the private municipality, by the public municipality, that is a condition precedent that must exist for a ballpark to be built. For all of the agreements that you negotiate, the construction agreement, the development agreement, the non-relocation agreement, all those agreements are predicated on the county being able to float the bonds that are required in order to put the public part of the money into the deal. In order for bonds to be floated, you go to Wall Street. You basically go on a marketing trip to all sorts of different firms, and you say, these are the municipal bonds that we'd like to float. This is the reason we're doing them. They can be general obligation bonds, muni bonds. They can be all sorts of different bonds. But what it means is there are institutions out there who buy them. Hey, St. Petersburg is floating bonds for the building of a new Tropicana Field. All right. Is it backed by the full faith and credit of the county? All right. Let's look at that. All right. We'll buy those bonds, but we'd like an interest rate of 5%. These are the types of negotiations that happen. And when we tell you a stadium deal is done, there's like 100 things that still have to happen for it actually to happen. It's why I always say to you that the Athletics deal in Vegas or Tampa's deal, it's never over until you see the construction fund funded. You see the rebar in the ground. Don't talk to me about any implosions at the Tropicana, and don't talk to me about any press conferences done in Tampa. You have to have it done. And the complication of Hurricane Milton is significant because you have to go look at uses of funds, sources of funds, and you've got to lock down what the county and what the public are going to do. Query: if you're a county like St. Petersburg and you've had a hit the way they've had with Hurricane Milton, I'm arguing persuasively that I don't know if I can contribute what I was going to contribute. Maybe yes, maybe no. And if I can't, I can always blame it on the fact that the bonds didn't sell or we couldn't go out to market with the bonds at the appropriate interest rate. There are myriad ways to back out of deals, all of these stadium deals. So we have to pay close attention to what's going on in Tampa. Well, as we close, I encourage all of you, thank you for listening. Please get out there and vote. And may we all just say a prayer for peace and for rational behavior. And let's see what happens over the course of these next 24 to 72 hours and 24 to 72 years. We have the greatest country in the world, and I'm proud to be a part of it. It's just business. This is nothing personal.